able to take down a stronger opponent in terms of the overall tier list. Got a game off Fnatic, got a series off of Team Secret Whales, but would love to mount a comeback here against T1. Well, for T1, first time we've seen them drop more than a single game in Swiss or in groups back when we had group stages, but are certainly continuing to ramp up and rally. And now they're going to get their hands on that first pick Wukong, Sion, Poppy, Yunara, banned away, the Bard, the Talia, as well as the Nico taken away on MKOI. And I said that maybe Faker would be sleeping. MKOI want to make it a reality.
Yeah, I think it'll just
Never
be
mind.
Trundle. And I imagine they'll either take the Rise here, or they will try and go for some sort of support pick here for Alvaro and basically say, look, you take the Rise, then we get the Cassiopeia and we can try and set up for strong team fights. But we'll have to see if that is the bait or if they want to just take the Rise for themselves. Like Jojo, it has been a pick for him the entire split.
Yep, 2 games on it, has won both of them. MOVISTAR Koi. Wouldn't feel bad to be able to grab that. And now we're going to see a return to the Ambessa. And again, if you're not familiar with Mirwin, he's known for a couple of things. The funny champs, as Otawamne would call them, the niche counter picks, the fringe characters. And then this year, really, especially in winter, Ambessa Cassante. Ambessa Cassante, whenever the option was there. So Cassante, of course, gone because of Fearless. Ambessa will be the option.
Yeah, and I mean, it is an exceptionally strong pick for him. And we saw Big Dokes yesterday making T1 work hard when he got his hands on this pick. But there is the Rise. And this is what we're talking about. I think that's the idea here for MCOY is give over the Rise, take the Cassiopeia into it, and now you've got decent team fighting and backline threat when it comes with the Ambessa and the Trundle, and now the Cassiopeia try and play through the team fights. The only thing is, traditionally you'd want something like an Ornn in that top side to try and provide that front line for the Cassiopeia.
Miasma combination, locking people into that grounded effect. Although now we have the Rek'Sai coming through. Will we add Doran to the list of certified Rek'Sai players? That is the question. Will this be the game where he joins Flandre? And at least a few others.
Keen up there as well.
Keen definitely up there. So Karma going to be the immediate ban. Obviously no attention from either side paid to that particular bottom lane matchup. Zig's an interesting one. Wouldn't have expected it, but I guess you already have a decent amount of AD coming through from MKOI's side.
Also just works very well with the Ambessa as one of those extra backline threats.
Yep.
So if Ambessa goes in with the public execution, throw then the Mega Inferno bomb off the top of it and try and pick it up. I do like the Caitlyn ban. That was one of the big things I was looking at for Gumayusi in that bottom side, especially when you've got decent side lane threat in both the Rise and the Rek'Sai. Having that Caitlyn to start to snowball and being able to farm up in mid lane would be a little bit of an issue. Kai'Sa also a pick that Gumayusi could end up opting in for here, just because you've already got like both Wukong and Rek'Sai that can be those dive buddies for the Kai'Sa in this sort of fight.
Yeah, see what the angle is here, because you're right, there is so much dive on the side of T1. This is usually where you want that kind of follow-up. Sometimes you see Jhin, although Atlas would be mad at me for probably Mao too would both be mad at me for even mentioning that, but it is, you either want the champion that can follow the dive or the champion that can support it from a distance, and they might go a different route here. Hovers, we have the Braum now locked in, really good against so many short-range, dive-focused champions, but when you look at the nameplates, when you remember MKOI, they're a team that is usually very reliant on Alvaro for that playmaking, and Braum is certainly not a champion who has that same depth, that same potential to really make those game-defining plays.
It doesn't mean you're heavily reliant on Mirwin to be in the fight as well. The fact that you're going to be trying to play side lanes into things like the Rek'Sai means that MKOI have very little when it comes towards engage tools, and I wouldn't be surprised, I'm going to say, if we see the Lulu come through for T1 because you've got so little of that dive threat here.
Keria is playing with her hearts a bit. Sivir locked in, another champion who is pretty good at empowering those dive threats with the On the Hunt. Also scales quite well against a shorter range composition. Really no big long range poke champions. No super safe scaling hyper carry. Cassio obviously can do a ton of damage, but doesn't have the range safety of something like a Jinx or even, honestly, the Azir that we saw last game. So what will the final option be here? It's Vayne. Okay.
Okay.
And you know, I honestly, you have to respect it. MCOY, if they go out here, they're going out on their terms, and there is a nightmare. But here we are. Okay, issue resolved. We're now into the game. I got the T1 fightings. Okay, a lot of T1 fighting. I was waiting for the, where's the MCOY?
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
I hear it.
I think he yeah.
I hear it.
There we go. There we go.
There it is. Gaining some momentum there. Oh, it's the knife grab. Oner ready to fight. Jojo ready to fight. It's like level 1 Twin Fang. Mirwin and Doran gonna trade blows. Definitely favors Doran early on, though, as he has that built-in sustain, but either side going to get a grasp proc. And what are you looking at here, Rob? There's a cornucopia of interesting matchups to talk about.
I think a large portion of it is, again, is going to be on eyes on Elyoya and Alvaro. They got a nice invade off the last match, but I don't know if they're going to be able to get a similar story here, because when you look at Doran, should be able to punish Mirwin in the early stages. Faker as well should have decent push against the Cassiopeia, unless he can go for this hyper-aggressive trade with Jojo on level 2. And in that case, I think it's a little bit more difficult for MKOI to try and like brute force their way into T1's jungle.
But it's important to note, you can see here on the top side of the map on your mini-map, Faker, of course, trying to take space in mid lane, but on the mini-map, you can see Supa wandering into the top lane. Pinged out, though. Clever early ward here coming in from T1 to spot this swap. So Supa will be able to play really aggressive into Doran, but it's also going to free Guma and Keria to really just hard shove these waves in the bottom lane.
Yeah, I think the fact, though, that Supa will have as much control as he wants in his top side is much more important. Doran as well, you obviously want to try and go forward aggressive, make these trades so the Rek'Sai can survive, and she doesn't like when she can't actually get access to the wave because she doesn't get to stack up that healing on her bar. So from the MKOI side, nice swap and good timing to prevent T1 from being able to match it.
Yep. Fury, it's crucial, right? It's why this champion is so obnoxious in those melee matchups. Champion going to connect the Noxious Blast, but not in a position to Twin Fang. Faker giving the respect. No stranger to this matchup, right? Through all the eras of Rise, Cassio has always been an option, always been a counter. So we'll just back off and knows that he's going to need a bit more time before he tries to go toe-to-toe in those trades.
Yeah, I'm curious about these plays because towards Doran afterwards.
Yep. Supa, of course, can try to get aggressive here with the tumble to get some extra poke, and will try to chip away, but does need to respect the potential for an instant flash knockup. Try and turn something back. Alvaro and Keria matching each other here around the mid lane, and again, we have a situation early on that it feels like favors MKOI in terms of overall lane prio.
And look at this, they're going to double reset, so both the Vayne and this Ambessa going back as the Rek'Sai TP's down. So is the Vayne comfortable enough to move in towards this bottom side of the map? It doesn't look like it. So we will have just Australian lanes, but the AD carries and the supports against each other.
Max isn't even here anymore.
I know.
Shame. There continues to trade. Bot lane. Okay, so just a delayed initial start to the laning phase. Supa is able to grab the Cole, as is Guma, but Guma, of course, first to the wave. Will be able to push this in, and one of the long-time struggles of Vayne, as long as she has been a champion, is general lack of wave clear. So should be pretty easy for Guma to just sustain a push here on the top side. Will cost him a decent amount of mana, but of course absolutely no AoE in the kit. So Supa just going to be accepting his position under tower here for now.
Nice call here from Keria. It kind of ends up as this ward to spot it exactly what Elyoya and Alvaro are up to, because this is what I was talking about. Like this duo of both Braum and Trundle, incredibly strong on the invade if they can start getting some of those auto attacks down.
Supa has recognized that fist fighting is the solution. Who's going to get it? That's the third stack. Knockback onto Guma. Flash forward auto in the 1v1. Supa comes out on top.
The Vayne dueling power is so strong, and even with the barrier, Gumayusi isn't able to match Supa early first blood for MKOI.
And again, that's part of the reason why we've seen this matchup before. In the 5v5, Sivir can be a powerhouse, but in the 1v1, Vayne so strong here early on. MKOI now looking to keep that advantage going, but it looks like T1 may have caught them out. Double knockup coming in for Doran. Oner now on the chase. Elyoya needs to get the hell out. Mirwin not doing much to interrupt. Double flashes. Elyoya trying to get fancy with the footwork, but it's not nearly enough. Concussive blows continuing to stack, but Mirwin now needs to leave as well. Flash over the wall to safety, but Keria immediately falls with the Zenith Blade. Now it's Alvaro knocked up. The solo on the top side immediately counteracted by T1 in the bottom lane.
The Tremor Sense doing work there, spotting Elyoya and Alvaro as they went into the brush, and T1 pick them off where they stand, answering immediately back for Supa's good work.
Real credit to T1 for the quick pulling of the trigger on that bot lane counterpunch. Mirwin going to use his TP to reset onto the top side. Of course, flashless now, which might make things a little bit trickier as he tries to race to that level 6. Supa moving down to the bottom lane, has the recurve bow, will feel really comfortable isolated as we take a look back at the all-in here. Level advantage for Supa.
Yeah, managed to step away from the return of the boomerang, which does a lot of work here. And again, it's just this silver bolts. I'm pretty sure he's put 2 points into that there, rather than going for the tumble as with the amount of damage that was coming off those silver bolts. So that dueling power incredibly high against the silver in the early stage.
Yeah. honestly.
I know it's just tumble, yeah. 3
Just the
points
tumble.
yeah.
Additional damage, right? Huge steroid if you dodge out on the Boomerang Blade. Ricochet, again, Sivir, great scaling option, but the early level is certainly not where she has a ton of damage in that short kind of all-in trade. Good poke. Not nearly enough there, however, and Supa happy to have that XP advantage as well. Level 6. Final hour. That damage steroid could be big. But unfortunately for MKOI, we're in a situation again where they found some kills, but it feels like T1 are still taking the reins, taking control of the game. 2-0 start for Oner, a terrifying prospect.
And you're kind of putting your eggs into that Supa basket, right? He's got the level experience over Guma. You can see Guma's just hit 6, whereas Supa already had it for a little while. Also, the early kill going to try and accelerate him towards that Blade of the Rune King, but you really do need 2 items on towards this vein before you really become a major threat in fights. And unfortunately for MKOI, you've got T1 who are winning elsewhere on the map. Getting this dragon now, being able to set up with Oner already on 2 kills. This is where Wukong becomes terrifying in some of these fights, especially as he gets towards that Triforce.
Yeah, Triforce, we've seen it in the Corkis or the Wukongs, right? This is just such a powerful first item spike. Expensive, but when you get accelerated into it, can do a ton of work. Jojo and Faker continue just to trade blows here in the mid lane as Mirwan, Doran do the same. No kills really to be had, and now that Mirwan's ticked over that level 6 threshold, does have the Vamp, is able to kind of match the sustain that Doran brings to the table.
And the one thing that this moving around actually did was it did actually set Supa behind. Supa got the kill, which gave him the advantage when it came to the CS and the experience, but it has actually helped Mirwan in avoiding a lot of this matchup and get some of the much needed CS and experience that he needs. So Mirwan has kind of been carried through this early stage, and alongside Supa being in a decent spot. So at least for MKOI, they've kind of got those 2 parts of the map they can play through. Whereas for T1, again, like, I wouldn't be surprised if you just see a ton of pressure now towards Faker and Jojo. Pyun, try and do a similar story of what we saw in the last game. Burn flashes on Jojo, rinse and repeat over and over, and just make this Cassio incredibly uncomfortable.
Definitely a solid option as Doran gets a little tricky with the tunnels there. Luckily does not take a tower shot, but now it's Oner coming in behind. Mirwan, of course, has the ulti available. Public execution back into Oner, trying to get tricky with it. Bit of a sidestep there. The Sundering Strike ready to come through, but he just has no time to press the button. 2 spins coming in, but Mirwan! He gets a kill back onto Doran! A catastrophic miscalculation!
That's the second time T1 have tried to dive an Abessa this weekend, and it's the second time it's backfired.
Supa, caught out briefly, cleanses, goes invisible with the final hour, but he's hitting the wrong target. Guma immediately using On the Hunt. Supa now debating if he can chase, but that's the heal coming up for Keria. Takes over to level 6 just in time, and there's no cleanse this time around! Alvaro comes in to try to body block, flash over from Supa into the bush! Guma not afraid to flash forward, but now he's face first to Elyoya. Concussive blow stacking 3. Alvaro desperate for the 4th, but it's Faker coming in from behind. Jojo also on the way, but he's just too far away. Alvaro locked up. The hubris of Supa once again punished.
It feels like this balance of powers where when Supa does well, Mirwan must have a terrible time. All right, the bot side must have a terrible time, and now we're seeing that swap elsewhere where Mirwan gets the turnaround and Supa overextends through, and Faker flashing over the miasma to get topside. Look great, and ends up working out for T1 with another kill.
Yeah, obviously use a lot of summoner spells to make that happen, which could put them at a disadvantage in the next fight, but more than happy to have that gold, those 2 quick kills onto the bottom lane. Supa still not able to complete that Blade of the Rune King. Keria now ghosting in, looking for the lockup onto Supa. Supa no cleanse available, going invisible courtesy of the final hour. Now wants to get the hell out, but there's Oner to start spinning. Supa taken down, Oner on a killing spree.
It's everyone on T1 focusing on Supa, making sure this Vayne cannot get ahead. The ghost from Keria puts him into the perfect position, and even if he doesn't get some of the stuns, just buys the time to Keria.
Just be careful, pillar down, force to flash. Smite for a bit of extra slow. Ulti already down as well from Elyoya. That's 1 tanky trundle. Keria going to fall. Elyoya still a powerhouse. Oner getting locked up. 2 stacks of the concussive blow, and he uses the clone to escape. They're not going to over push into Guma, but Keria a little overconfident continuing to push forward there.
Nice job by the MKOI duo to pick him off. Could have been a bit more, honestly, but the trundle pillar not quite a backup off good, and now Mirwan training against Doran doesn't want to look for the public execution. But still, it's very back and forth. T1 are slowly pulling ahead as they did get the extra kills in that initial bottom side play. But still, MKOI, they are fighting every step of the way.
That they are. Opting for the Sundered Sky this time around. Given how many short-range champions there are, I think it makes sense, but it is compared to the completed Trinity Force of Oner. So Oner much more burst damage, but a bit more sustain for Elyoya.
But I think that's the terrifying part, because burst damage against things like Vayne and even this Cassiopeia, who hasn't gotten towards like the Rod of Ages and the Seraphs yet, is going to be a bit of a disaster if you start to move in towards his fights. Mirwin fishing for the execution, but not quite able to clip him.
No, he's not. Guma focus. Now that he has the Essence Reaver completed before even the Blade of the Rune King comes in for Supa, it's so easy for him to just infinitely wave clear mid, deny Supa for any opportunity to force those 1v1s. Here now is Elyoya and Alvaro on the top side. Doran with the tunnel network. This man's played Zerg at some point in his life. I feel confident saying that.
Yeah, it's only not quite a 6 pool available in this game, but MKOI is going to be happy to take away some of these plates on the top end of the map. In return, T1 going to be getting that dragon, so looking for these trades, but again, T1 kind of playing around. Oh, hang on.
Doran, potentially a little bit overconfident. Slowed up, he's just going to get taken out. I think thought that he could get a bit more. The rest of the team is on the way. Faker is here. Keria is here.
But they were so far away, and you're tunneling into the Cassiopeia with the miasma. Like, that's the worst option out of all you could have done.
That was bad. That was a goof. Big old goof from Doran.
I don't think he's getting the Rek'Sai.
Nope, he's
the Rek'Sai license.
Yeah, I mean, you can make it top 8, but did you get the Rek'Sai license? I'm not so convinced. It's Faker doing a good job of trading here. Nice sidestep on the Noxious Blast. Jojo needs to get out. Hasn't hit the Noxious Blast, so doesn't really have the movement speed. Conqueror procs. Faker happy with just the flash. Elyoya moving in. The pillar's going to be big here. Nice initial lock up on Supa as he tries to step back. Alvaro doesn't have the Unbreakable quite yet, and they're starting the retreat. Oner getting good chip damage down to Elyoya. The flash still keeping Elyoya alive. Keep your eyes on that Realm Orb. Hand delivered, but he's already been stunned. Oner locks it for a moment. Wants to turn on to Elyoya. Tries to finish off Supa, but down he goes. Doran arriving just in the nick of time. This is a double knockup. Guma goes over the wall, and he's looking to clean up house. Mirwin's still standing, but he doesn't have the ultimate because of the play earlier. T1 firing back.
That ultimate is so close to getting off the cooldown. I think Mirwin wants to fish for Faker, but it's a bait as Doran finds him in the bush. They're going to continue to push forward.
4 seconds on the public execution. Guma, does he have access to the spell shield? Jojo and Mirwin hesitating for a second. Tunnel interrupted. Mirwin still walking up. But my God, what a fist fight on the top side. 14 kills, 14 minutes. That's a pace of game I like to see.
I mean, this is turning into an absolute banger, and it starts with this trade in the jungle as Faker just trying to keep Jojo here so Keria can manage to get up towards the top side. It's a good flash from Jojo, and MKOI looking to turn this around, but look how far away Mirwin is from this fight as the TP comes through for Doran. It's a numbers advantage, and Oner, again, that burst damage, so good in setting up for this play. Supa goes forward hoping to get the kill, but it's actually the Realm Warp that ends up sealing the deal, because Supa then takes damage from the Rek'Sai, which allows that ultimate to pop through, and Mirwin eventually shows up at the end of this, but with no ultimate, and a lot of his teammates gone, there was little he could do.
Solid fight for T1, but the gold's still close. It's really the objectives where T1 are starting to pull ahead. Mountain Drake next on the menu, 2.5 minutes, but 10 seconds on that Herald.
The nice thing here for Supa though, Blade of the Rune King now completed, so is in an okay spot if Alvaro doesn't get caught here on the top side, where you can hope to try and play around his 2-item spike, but like Doran, Oner, Faker all do so well when we come into this kind of 20 to 23 minute mark.
Keria potentially caught out once again. Alvaro taking a big chunk of damage though. That's the Unbreakable use. They get Keria's flash, but Supa's still taking his time to clear mid, and this is one of the things that's going to be so frustrating for MKOI is it just takes a year for them to get mid prio.
And that's the MKOI, every single game so far have been doing this play of abandon sides, overload mid, and hope we can catch people out, but T1 have started to get aware of the ruse, and now they're just losing minions top, they're losing minions bot, and the TP from T1 to contest.
Full 5v5, Hex Flash over the wall from Keria, Solar Flare available, the Cyclone as well. Alvaro with the blinking health bar is going to be forced to retreat, does have access to the redemption, so it'll just be the Herald conceded. Are they going to spot him? Not quite. T1 happy to have the objective, and MKOI slowly losing advantage across the map.
Riptail put down immediately. The cavalry from MKOI is here, but T1 are here en masse, and this tower will fall with little MKOI can do.
Mirwin starting to kick a fight off though. Ulti forced out from Oner. That's the redemption coming forward. He's going to mount up back into the Herald, looking for the triple knockup. Starting to drive through the entire team. Alvaro on the back line. Oner's just hitting everybody. MKOI pulling back. They'll keep their members standing. A lot of cooldowns traded, but no one going to drop. Faker contesting Jojo a bit, but it looks like Jojo just forced to TP out. Doesn't want to take the isolated 1v1.
The Battle Herald was enough to get a little bit more there for T1. And as you say, with Jojo TPing out, I think this is just top wave turret for T1 as well. So mid, top, control over this top side jungle. T1 again starting to push these advantages as we crest the 15-minute mark.
And we've perhaps recognized a problem with the man in the mid lane, now 2-0-2. We complained about his Azir, but there's also a Worlds music video where he's this champion.
Oh, wait.
Yes. Yeah. So maybe the GOAT's the GOAT for a reason, I think is what we've learned, and perhaps there is no right champion to give him.
Yeah, it's a decent trade from Jojo trying to go for it, but this backstep on Faker once more, which was famous on his Riven, to actually be able to sidestep away from the Cassiopeia, and then immediately forces the TP from Jojo.
This cast, we will be praising Faker. This is what we've decided. He doesn't probably need any more, but just in case you forgot.
This is the first international event I got to this year. I gotta it's a
You gotta
full
make up.
year
First
of
strike and
Faker
then
praise
MSI.
saved up.
Yep. Fair. He wasn't even at the first one, so I respect that you were saving it for first stand too. T1 going to grab their third Drake of the game. MKOI not feeling like they're in a comfortable spot to contest. And you can see why, right? Steadily falling behind. 1.5k doesn't seem massive, but it is tough. They have less wave clear overall. They really haven't found an opportunity to take control of the side lanes, and you saw in the 1v1, Cassio is still really hard to play in the Rise, right? You need to hit the Noxious Blast. You need those Empowered Twin Fangs. If you miss one ability, Rise is easily going to outdamage you.
Yeah, and with the phase rush, it does get very hard very quickly thanks to the extra movement speed. But I do think MKOI, if they can hit that kind of 3 item, are in a decent spot. It's just a case of slowing the game down enough for that to happen. But we're getting aggressive on the bottom side. And at least T1, with 4 members down here, does open up a window for a bit of pressure on towards the mid lane. Faker going to drift across here to try and cover. But how aggressive does he want to be? Is he straight on top of Mirwin?
Be a bit risky. MKOI don't have good information. They don't have good ward coverage on the bottom side jungle. So they did see 4 in bot lane, but it had been too long. They didn't want to risk pulling the trigger. They didn't want to risk going all in. So now, bit of a lull, bit of a calm state. Again, objectives where we're looking 1 minute until the Otacon spawning on the top side of the map. Either side has that top lane tier 1 to play around, and Jojo for now just focus on getting pressure in the bottom side, getting closer to that second item.
T1 though, at least for now, being a little bit slower when it comes to setting up the vision control, waiting for people to be in place. So Keria even hex flashing over there to make sure he's not spotted until he leaves on the to get his vision down. But again, like, this is get pressure mid, get that push with the Sivir, slowly but surely eke control here from MKOI. This is, again, like, you have opportunities from MKOI to fight back with the Cassiopeia ult and the Braum if T1 are disjointed. But you can see here, like, they are just not. They're very careful and methodical now in their wave states and setting up the map in their favor.
They have better push, right? And they have the advantage in terms of overall gold, and you can see Jojo there, as much as he would like to 1v1 Doran and force a greater advantage, he really can't. Doran just walks away, gets the push. Now Otacon has spawned. Guma instantly wave clearing mid. I love you for that. Observers well highlighted. This is the nightmare. If you weren't around for like season 4 or season 3, there was a lot of this.
You may have heard of this team
season
called
2.
Jin Air Green Wings.
Yeah, Vayne can kill Sivir on a side lane. Vayne is winning the 1v1. The problem is sometimes League of Legends is a game about minions, and Sivir is really much, much better at that game than Vayne is.
Yeah, and I think the fact that Supa hasn't been able to collect as many of those minions now because of the moving around the map. We even saw like a Mirwin moving to mid to collect the wave, not giving that to Supa, means he's just starting to drift further behind. And Gumayusi's Rage Blade is a big item spike, but we don't get there.
Exhaust onto Elia, locked up, all the CC leverage. Albero looking for the disengage as Doran's off to the side, has been caught by the Condemned. Guma flashing backwards, already used the spell shield. It's Mirwin in the midst of the entire team. Fall with the Petrifying Gaze. Supa's still untouched for now. Slowly they're chipping through the health bars and Doran's about to fall. That's the Silver Bolts proccing. Blinking health bars across all of MKOI as they start to retreat. Guma, Faker, still alive. The Realm Warp available. T1, do they want to chase?
Public execution of Mirwin, he's going!
We're gonna go back on Guma. Guma with a perfect spell shield, looking for the follow-up as well. Still standing for a moment, but Elia goes right in, looking to chop a bite out of Guma. Supa gets the kill, but Faker untouched for now. Again, MKOI playing on the edge. Oner about to be hand-delivered. Elia looking for the angle with the pillar. Extra movement speed for Jojo, he's not gonna be able to escape. They turn back onto Oner. MKOI still standing.
Faker goes for the kill on his mid laner, but leaves his jungle out to dry, and MKOI, when it looked like things were going dire, somehow find the fight that they need, and it starts off the back of this invade, where the exhaust goes onto Ayoya, but that dive isn't really there. Supa on towards Doran in the top side. Jojo ends up flashing over the wall with this great setup coming through from Mirwin as well onto the back line. And the fact that Mirwin holds onto his public execution for so long here is insane, because the stun from Supa onto the wall, they back away, and Mirwin hiding here. Gumayusi, great reaction on the spell shield, but the heal is still there, and the turnaround from MKOI is perfect because everyone has to go and deal with Guma, and Supa finds his moment to jump into the backline with Ayoya and find that duel against the Sivir.
And this is the situation we've alluded to so many times, right? The Sivir, you got the wave clear, you've got some power, even as Faker cleans up here. But when it comes to these scrappy fights, Supa has so many tools to stay safe, to dive in, to use that stealth. So the second the fight gets crazy, the second it gets chaotic, as much damage as Guma is doing, as much as he is an absolute powerhouse, he is still so vulnerable.
It's also T1, as Faker actually starts a Vatican, not getting the fight that they would like, where it is this multi-man dive into the backline, constantly keeping up the pressure. Instead, they were kind of playing a lot of that resource into Ayoya, but T1, resources well allocated here. As Vatican just going to go down because they're trading this for Dragon.
MCOY presumably know this is happening as they set up around the Drake, just don't want to give up soul to this T1 team, but losing Otacon is huge. The XP advantage, the adaptive force. MCOY buy themselves a few more minutes. You talked about it before, 3 items, 2 items, maybe they feel like they just need a bit more time, and this does give them time. This is a tough thing to come back from. Otacon often underestimated in terms of the raw power, the raw stats that it gives you.
I do think, though, the time bought is actually a win for MKOI. Like, again, Riley is going to be massive for Jojo Pyun in these fights, and kiting back from Oner, kiting back from Doran, even making the fight difficult for Gumayusi if he has to walk over a miasma. And then as well for the Vayne, who Quincy's Rage Blade now is a big spike for Supa, so can be much more of a threat in these fights. And we just saw T1, even though they tried to get the jump in the last fight, MKOI can find their moments in these engages.
Definitely can, right? In the extended fights, once Owners use those ultis, once Keria uses initial cooldowns, Braum passive becomes so oppressive. Vayne, such short cooldown on the tumble, the silver bolts. We know what the team can do in those drawn-out fights, but have to keep finding those opportunities because, sad to say, we saw the same thing from 100 Thieves yesterday, right? We saw good fights, but the problem was those good fights never turned into good objectives or good games overall. And now MKOI find themselves in a similar precarious position. They need a fight, and they need to turn it into something greater. It's not enough to go even. It's not enough to scrap with T1. You need to best them.
And it's hard to do so when T1 just have so much control of the map. 1-3-1, a very strong push for T1. We talked about in draft. Now they're starting to use that to clear out waves. Look at Oner constantly hovering mid. He wants this pick onto Supa so badly.
So for a bit more. Hovering. T1 though ready to collapse. The tunnel's all set up by Doran. MKOI, again, there's no major objective on the map quite yet. Baron in 12 seconds. It looks like they just want to get a little bit of pressure, a little bit of prio on bot side to make it easier for them to access the Baron.
But look at how T1 are moving on the map. So Faker pushes in top side, immediately starts to shift mid, lets Goomba start to teeter down towards bottom side, which immediately denies MKOI that access onto the bottom lane, despite T1 being a little bit behind when it came towards where they were positioned on the map. And MKOI just haven't been able to answer with this because oftentimes they're using Mirwin to try and sneak around a player, using him to back up some of these vulnerable carries in the Vayne and the Cassiopeia. So T1 just playing the map and slowly starting to get these waves further and closer to the towers of MKOI.
Yeah, and of course, I think it's important to note, MKOI have very little vision on members of T1. Guma just walked up mid lane, and if MKOI had just sent it there, they probably would have killed him or at least forced a summoner spell, but they're uncertain. They don't know where anyone else is, and if someone else is there, that play could turn on them in an instant. So really good awareness from Guma to understand what MKOI can and cannot see on the map.
And it's because of all the vision that's been set up on this top side. Like, it is littered with blue wards, but also has been cleared out of anything that was remotely red. So it does make it very difficult then for MKOI to really understand where are people in relation to Gumayusi. And now the resets come through. 2 minutes until that dragon. Baron is up and available, and you have to play the dance of MKOI of how do we keep both sides of the map safe.
That you do as Mirwin starts to trade blows with Doran, and you can tell that MKOI feel like they're behind when they're using their control wards in their own side of the jungle rather than neutral place, although they finally push that vision line up. We do finally have the Rylai's for Jojo Pyun. The third item completed. It will make those fights so much easier, so much more difficult for a lot of the short-range threats on the side of T1.
if you're MKOI in this position, I think you have to just wait for T1 to pick an objective and then force the fight at it. There is no real opportunity to try and trade. Maybe if you want to try and use Ambessa to take the dragon, but you can see Doran still happy to take these trades on the bottom side against Miran, so I don't think you really have the 1v1 potential as Miran to force that objective by yourself.
Definitely seems that way. Oner drops a control ward. Slow, steady choke out of vision. Farsight available for both Jojopyun and Supa. Again, it's a long cooldown, so really want to wrest control back from T1 here. Do have a pretty fast Baron once again, Rise amongst the champions who can really shred through that objective. But it's the same for MKOI if they can find an angle.
Yeah, MKOI very slow in retaking, but it does give these little windows where Keria resets, pick up a bunch of wards, Doran able to reset as well. And now, if you're looking at Supa, he's completely tapped out. And this is where T1 trying to get aggressive, knowing that Alvaro doesn't have the vision to contest them if they can clear it.
I'm not sure if the observers are able to hear us, but if they can just show the vision difference between these two teams. MKOI sees so little of the map. Honestly, T1 might as well be playing with map hacks. Look at this. They have bits, they have pieces. The only reason they even have a remote idea of where T1 are is because they know this dragon, this soul, is spawning in 14 seconds. Already Faker taking control of mid. MKOI have a bot wave that they would kind of like to push in. The price of admission for them even to group here is going to be a wave of minions. They fail here, they'll only be even further behind. They're betting it all on this play. That's the Solar Flare, but no immediate follow-up. Lock up onto Jojopyun is good. Doran going in as well. Jojopyun flashing forward. They're looking to take out Guma in the midst of the entire fight, but another knockup coming in just in time to keep Guma standing. Mirwin taking him down and moving back out of the fight in the midst. It's Oner taken out as well. T1 ready to come in with the Realm Warp, ready to turn it back. MKOI though, still 3 members strong. Doran debating where does he go? What is the angle for this fight?
Supa's lost the ultimate though. He's now way more vulnerable in this fight, and Doran wants to go for it. No flash available for him though.
And Alvaro need to protect Supa. So much damage could come out of this vein, but if a single piece of CC connects, there's likely little they can do to stop any further damage. Heal comes in from Alvaro. Objective getting lower. Knockup coming in from Doran. That's Alvaro taking out of the equation. And Faker's now on the hunt, looking to zone Supa out as well. He needs to take away the dragon, needs to deny the soul, and he will do so. Still standing for a damn long time, but not enough to turn the fight. Faker, Doran, Keria, too strong. MKOI might get the objective, but they lose just about everyone.
And the Baron is still a target here for T1, and Oner is about to come back up onto the map. Faker even looks like he just TP'd to the top side. Wasn't sure if he was scared of something, because it's only Vayne that was on the map.
No, it's adrenaline. I think he thought they were just going to immediately go Baron.
But he's going to reset and move back up towards his top side. And T1, they barely don't get the dragon, but if they can get the Baron off the back of this, it can still be huge for them.
And the gold is so close. The gold lead that you see on your screen is a bit deceptive because items completed is relatively similar. It's really just the petals giving T1 the greater advantage here as they now start this objective. Mirwin not even sure if he can step up. MKOI after that last fight don't feel confident to contest. T1 taking the Baron at 29 minutes. Gonna have to see what they can do with the Red Bull Baron power play because there's no response from MKOI.
And Dracos, he talks about the short range already on T1. Having this is a huge book.
Public execution, it looks like they want to get some exit kills in the meantime. Locking up Oner, looking to take him down. Faker and Gumayusi on the way in, but the redemption already used. No other summoner spells. So we'll just be the single pick that will slow down this Baron, but MKOI know that they need to play for more. They can't afford to let T1 choke them out.
The Riley's onto Faker though, the slow, nearly enough to keep him in place, but that will slow down this Red Bull Baron power play from T1 because they just don't have the members on the map. A pick from MKOI might have bought them more time here.
Gives them a little bit more space to maneuver. 3 minutes to the next Drake. Again, T1 at Soul Point. Wave clear advantage in their favor. Likely they should knock down at least a few of these tier 2s, but for the next 15 seconds, Oner isn't around. It means they'll at least need to concede a bit of space on the map. So, as you highlighted, the pick gives them some time. Chips away at this Red Bull Baron power play. Means that T1 cannot take everything.
Should give them mid tower as well, and that'll open up, well, maybe not with the TP, but I was going to say should give them the opportunity to actually get some deeper vision. A huge portion of this game for MKOI has been played in the darkness, not being able to figure out where T1 are on the map. Now, the deeper vision here, Keria should be able to spot out, as it is just a control ward, so should know exactly what's happening. But still, they just need to get back to base, spend the gold, and come back onto the map and keep T1 on their side.
It's tricky now for MKOI, surviving the siege, right? Guma with the ricochet can just make these MCOY members eat so much damage even while they try to defend their own towers. And on the hunt, available. MCOY overcommit here. Oh, you walk face first into Guma. Lockup is there. Ulti connects from Alvaro. Nice petrifying gaze to kick things off, and down they go. MCOY with one more fast play. One more pick, but this time they want the full fight. It's Doran splitting off. In the meantime, MCOY immediately turned back. That's to get them right back into the wall. Lockup for the concussive blows, but the tunnel's keeping Doran standing. All of T1 immediately retreat. They want nothing to do with this. Doran will be sacrificed. T1 punished.
Flashless Gumayusi was caught by Ayoya, and that miasma barely keeps him in check, so MCOY can chase them down. And by some miracle, MCOY are constantly finding these picks that are holding them in this game. Look at the top left of your screen. That Red Bull Baron power play is negative for T1.
1.2k, all that separates them. The flowers as well, of course, still putting T1 in a favorable position. The scaling of the Sivir still feeling like it puts them in a strong spot. But MCOY making the risky play happen, waiting in the darkness, not willing to just go quietly in this game. Again, T1 match point advancement moves them up into the top 8, 4 for 4 LCK seeds, advancing to the quarterfinals. MCOY need to win here and win again, or they will be sent home.
And I do think this, if Super resets here, is the adaptive helm finish for him as well, making him significantly safer in these fights. 6, 3, and 4 in the vein. We were questioning whether it would work if he could hit this late game, and now, with 50 seconds until that dragon, this could be the picks that MCOY need, and a potential third dragon, mountain dragon for them, makes them very tanky, which is exactly what you want against this kind of more burst-heavy team from T1.
Makes a lot of sense. 38 seconds. Again, Supa doing his best to clear these waves, get priority in the mid lane. May need to be ready to fist fight just to gain control here as T1 are matching.
It flashes up across the board except for Alvaro. And it is just Gumayusi missing his barrier alongside it, so maybe vulnerable if MCOY can get on top of him and Miasma can lock him in place. But MCOY now taking control here once more in River.
Faker waiting off to the side, MCOY no vision, up into mid lane. A few creeps going to be missed here by MCOY, but they know that's the price to contest this Drake. Doran off on the side, isolated as well, taunting, threatening, trying to distract the members of MCOY. Flash forward from Jojo, completely whiffs. Oner immediately turns right back. Alvaro tries to find the disengage. Lock him on Guma, does not come through. Mirwin cannot find the angle. Supa still standing for now. Knock back into the wall is good, but Oner wants to take down the bait. He doesn't quite have the damage. Supa still standing, but the rest of MCOY are starting to fall. He splits back into Mirwin. Tumble back into the back line. Knock up from Doran. One more ferocious bite, but the Gadam says not today. Supa standing, but here comes Faker.
Faker finishes off Supa and holds the game for T1 in his hands. It looked like Supa might have been able to hold it, but now with the Dragon Soul in T1's favor, what looked like desperation in the fight may just crumble before them.
The priceless moment. T1 holding the line. MCOY so close. A few too many ultimates going awry.
And it was Jojo who tries to make the play here, flashing forward to get on towards Gumayusi, but that misses. Mirwin goes for the public execution onto Gumayusi. He flashes it and keeps himself safe. And with that, T1 at least have that damage from their AD carries ricocheting through the fight. Faker uncontested topside, and Supa is playing out for his life here, desperately trying to move around the fight, picks off Gumayusi, but again, look at these repositions from Faker, constantly threading onto key carries, the realm warp to get on towards Supa, and MCOY try desperately to play both sides of the fight, but T1 get the access that they need.
Damn good fight, but in the clutch, T1 holding on. The sustained damage. You can see the story really is Supa, Mirwin trying to go toe-to-toe with Guma and Faker. Initial exhaust now coming out. Elyoya just chunking away on the clone. Both sides still ready to fist fight. Advantages slowly growing for T1, but they don't have Baron yet. 3 seconds till they can take that objective. The Soul making them that much more tanky. The true damage of Silver Bolts still has a lot to work through.
No flashes on towards MCOY's carries. Faker still has his. And if MCOY try to play the fights front to back, maybe they have a chance, but Oner
caught out for a moment, uses the clone. Forced to retreat, on the hunt used. That's the Cyclone. One key ability chipped away. MCOY, that's an advantage for the fight. Ulti from Gumayusi as well.
They're not over contesting, as you said. Baron up and available for MCOY. Knowing now both ults on Gumayusi and Oner down, feel comfortable Moving in here, Mirwin.
Going in, Guma, that's the pillar. Mirwin taking his time waiting for the spell shield to be utilized. Nice side steps from Gumayusi not to get caught by anything else. A lot of ultis traded, but neither side burning too much.
Nobody wants to overcommit. MKOI know that their hopes of sticking around at Worlds lie in the balance of this next fight at the Baron.
That control ward in the pit though, MKOI didn't take it away, so it means T1 know that they have the time to play slow, to ease into this. Faker flashing forward, trying to get more out of Jojopyun. Jojopyun taking his time. The Petrifying Gaze only going to connect onto Oner. Immediate exhaust to follow up. Doran looking for the knockup as well. And just now, Supa's finally able to join the fight. The Realm Warp going to bring only a few minions in, but that's a clutch pick for T1.
MKOI separated as they try to contest the mid-wave while keeping their approach on Baron free. And T1 pounce. That was exactly what they needed in the moment. And just like that, T1 are getting objective after objective.
Just that bit of difference. They burn so many cooldowns in the setup, but once they get that pick, full confidence descendant on the objective. Faker not afraid to walk face first into Jojo, trusting his reaction times to just dodge the Petrifying Gaze. And it feels like this Red Bull Baron power play may be the last in this series. MKOI once again in a position where they have to hold the line. Last time it was picks that stopped this from being a problem, that stopped the Baron from getting full effect, but they're completely on the back foot this time around.
And that's the thing, it's no longer about where you are in your build or what items you could try and hit. It's the fact that again and again T1 have been able to find those fights, have been able to spread MKOI thin. They're picking off Jojo at the start of these fights, and then it just becomes Supa versus the world. And Vayne sometimes likes those odds, but in this sort of situation, T1 have been able to shut Supa down every single moment.
I don't think anyone's playing odds against T1, brother. No matter how good, no matter how fed. There's a reason they're the two-time, the back-to-back. Both these teams, a bit of an awkward road to qualify, but all that matters is getting there, making it to the next stage. T1 on the precipice of taking the series. MKOI, the cusp of elimination. Have to hold the line.
Doran very quickly making his way through that middle turret. The Demolish doing work. As T1 just letting the minions do the work for them on the bottom lane. There is no one that can really approach these waves, and that wave clear is abysmal on MKOI's side.
That it is. Everyone trying to contest Doran, but again, the tunnels are set up. He's not even going to use it if he doesn't have to. Another inhibitor tower falling, likely 2 inhibitors to follow.
There is a wave amassing on the top side. MKOI Worlds starting to sneak away from them as T1 continue to put a stranglehold in this game.
Supa walking up stun initially onto Oner, does still have access to the GA. Double ultis, both supports trading, and T1 with a quick retreat. Happy to have 2 inhibitors, no need to risk anything else.
Looking for, they found Guma. They end up interrupting him, but no public execution to follow. Guma had the flash if he needed to.
Get the TP at the very least out of Keria, who's there to cover for his AD carry, but on the hunt, and the spell shield both still available for Guma.
But now with super minions in both mid and bot, there's no one who can clear that out very quickly. MKOI going to find themselves thin on the map once more. T1 starting to escort these minions in and then move up towards this top side.
MKOI begging for a chance at one more 5v5 despite the gold deficit, because they know if it comes down to PvE, if it comes down to waves and prio, that they just do not win. Doing everything they can to clear the waves before T1 are in a position to threaten.
But it's not just one fight. Mid towers all still stand. Bot lane fully stands. MKOI need to find one fight that can fall into another, that can maybe get that domino going in their favor.
Once more into the abyss, once more from MOVISTAR. Koi, Oner locked up for a brief moment, on the hunt used. MKOI retreating back to the river, but unbreakable down for Alvaro already. Oh yeah, isolated. 5 members grouped for MKOI.
Super minions in the base as MKOI start the Elder. They need to find this fight now and quickly.
TP there for Doran, and he's immediately going to use it to go to the base. He wants to threaten the back door. MKOI don't have great tools to respond to this. T1 just need to keep the pressure on, and Doran will end the game. Oner with the knockup to keep things going. Keria there as well. Rise with the Realm Warp. It's Faker and Guma alongside Doran to try to end it all. Mirwin doing his best to hold the line. TP coming in for Jojopyun. They're not going to be able to cancel it. Mirwin, Jojopyun, they need to make this work. They don't have the angle. Guma with a perfect spell shield is still going to remain standing. T1 move on to the top 8 at Worlds 2025. MCOY are sent packing.
Everything was